Welcome back, everybody. Kingdom builders, road trippers. Welcome back to the road trip, man. If you're just joining in, if you're new here, my name is Aharon the Scribe. I'm just here to read for y'all, man. That's it, having a little bit of fun on this road trip. It's an experiment, just trying some new things out here and there. Put in the comments if you like something. If you don't like something, we can change it, This is just as much your channel as it is mine. We're all out here together, man. Shalom, shalom, peace and blessings, man. Welcome to the road trip. Akatim, right? And Akatim, and Akim, right? It's my brothers and my sisters, mothers and fathers, aunties and uncles, grandmas and grandpas, right? I appreciate you for being along with me. It's really cool. It's really cool. All praises to the Most High, Abba Yahweh, right? All praises to Yahweh. Glory to Yahweh Shai and honors to the Ruach HaKodesh. And like I said, my love and my respect goes out to each and every single one of y'all kingdom builders. You know that. All right. So here we are. Back in the book, back in the scrolls. That's right. All right, it's the book, 2nd Maccabees. This is going to be chapter 9. And we're going to see how far we go. I don't know. We're just going to see. So, no further ado, all praises to the Most High. No further ado. If you want to read along with me, you got a few moments. Get your scrolls out if you want to follow along. If not, just sit back and relax. And I'll go ahead and read the best that I possibly can. All right. 2nd Maccabees, chapter 9. No further ado. Family, let's begin.
Take him back.
All right. Chapter 9, and it reads, Now about that time it befell that Antiochus had returned in disorder from the region of Persia, for he had entered into the city called Persepolis, and he essayed to rob a temple and to hold down the city, whereupon there was an onset of the multitudes, and Antiochus and his men turned to make defense with arms. And it came to pass that Antiochus was put to flight by the people of the country, and broke up his camp with disgrace. And while he was at Ecbatana, news was brought him what had happened to Nicanor and his forces of Timotheus. And being lifted up by his passion, he thought to make the Yahudim suffer even for evil doing of those that had put him to rout. For that reason, the judgment from heaven even now accompanying him, he gave order to his charioteer to drive without ceasing and dispatch the journey, for so he arrogantly spoke, I will make Jerusalem a common graveyard of Yahudim when I come there. But the all-seeing Yahweh, the Most High of Yasharel, struck him with a fatal and invisible stroke. And as soon as he had ceased speaking this word, an incurable pain of the bowels seized him, and bitter torments of the inner parts, and that most justly, for he had tormented other men's bowels with many and strange sufferings. For he in no wise ceased from his rude insolence. No, still more was he filled with arrogance, breathing fire in the passion against the Yahudim, and commanding to haste the journey. But it came to pass, moreover, that he fell from his chariot as it rushed along, and having a grievous fall, was racked in all the members of his body. And he that but now supposed himself to have the waves of the sea at his bidding, so vainglorious was he beyond the condition of a man, and that thought to weigh the heights of the mountains in a balance, and now brought to the ground and carried in a litter, showing to all that the power of the manifesting was manifestly Yahweh's. It was all Yahweh's. It was Yahweh's work, right? So that out of the body of the impious man worms swarmed, and while he was still living in anguish and pains, his flesh fell off, and by reason of the stench all the army turned, and with loathing from his corruption. And the man that a little before supposed himself to touch the stars of heaven, no one could endure to carry for his intolerable stench. Therefore he began in great part to cease from his arrogance, being broken in spirit, broken in ruach, and to come to knowledge under the scourge of Yahweh, his pains increasing every moment. And when he himself could not stand his own smell, he said these words, It is right to be subject to Yahweh, and that one who is mortal should not be inclined arrogantly. And the vile man vowed to the sovereign Elohim, who now no more would have pity upon him, saying on this wise, that the Kodesh city, to the which he was going in haste to lay it even with the ground, and to make it a common graveyard, he would declare free. And as touching the Yahudim, whom he had decided not even to count worthy of burial, but to cast them out into the beast with their infants, for the birds to devour, he would make them all equal to citizens of Athens. And the Kodesh sanctuary, which before he had plundered, he would adorn with goodly offerings, and would restore all the sacred vessels many times multiplied, and out of his own revenues would defray the charges that were required for the sacrifices. And besides all of this, that he would become a Yahudim, and would visit every inhabited place, publishing abroad the might of Yahweh. But when his sufferings did in no wise cease, for the judgment of Yahweh had come upon him in righteousness, having given up all hope of himself, he wrote to the Yahudim the letter written below, having the nature of supplication, to this effect. 19, and it reads, To the worthy Yahudim, his fellow citizens, Antiochus, king and general, wishes much joy and health and prosperity. May you and your children fare well, and your affairs will be to your mind, having my hope in heaven. I remembered with affection your honor and goodwill toward me, returning out of the region of Persia, and being taken with a noisome sickness, I deemed it necessary to take thought for the common safety of all, not despairing of myself, but having great hope to escape from the sickness. But considering that my father also, at what time he led an army into the upper country, appointed his successor, to the end that if anything fell out contrary to expectation, or if any unwelcome tidings were brought, that they that remained in the country, knowing to whom the state had been left, might not be troubled. And besides all this, observing how that the princes that are borderers and neighbors to my kingdom watch opportunities and look for the future event, I have appointed my son Antiochus to be king, who I often committed and commended to most of you, when I was hastening to the upper provinces, and I have written to him what is written below. I exhort you therefore, and implore you, having in your remembrance the benefits done to you in common and severally, to preserve each of you your present goodwill toward me and my son. For I am persuaded that he in gentleness and kindness will follow my purpose and treat you with indulgence. So the murderer and blasphemer, having endured the most intense sufferings, even as he had dealt with another man, ended his life among the mountains by the most piteous fate in the strange land. And Philip, his foster brother, conveyed the body home. And then, fearing the son of Antiochus, he betook himself to Ptolemy, Philat Mitur, in Mizraim. That's the end of chapter 9. All right. Okay, let's continue. Chapter 10, and it reads, And Maccabees, and those who were with him, the Most High leading them on, recovered the temple and the city, and they pulled down the altars that had been built in the marketplace by the aliens, and also the walls of sacred enclosures. And having cleansed the sanctuary, they made another altar of sacrifice, and striking stones and taking fire out of them, they offered sacrifices after they had ceased for 2 years, and burned incense and lighted lamps, and set out the showbread. And when they had done these things, they fell prostrate and implored the Most High that they might fall no more into such evils, but that if ever they should sin, they might be chastened by him with forbearance, and not be delivered to blaspheming and barbarous heathens. Now, on that same day that the sanctuary was profaned by aliens, upon that very day did it come to pass that the cleansing of the sanctuary was made, even on the 25th day of the same month, which is Chislev. And they kept 8 days with gladness in the manner of the Feast of Tabernacles, remembering how that not long before, during the Feast of Tabernacles, they were wandering in the mountains and in the caves after the manner of the wild beast. For that reason, bearing wands wreathed with leaves and fair bows and palms also, they offered up hymns and thanksgiving to him that had prosperously brought to pass the cleansing of his own place. They ordained also with a common statute and decree for all the nation of the Yahudim that they should keep these days every year. And such was the end of Antiochus, who was called Epiphanius. But now will we declare what came to pass under Antiochus, named Eupator, who proved himself a true son of the ungodly man, and will gather up briefly the successive evils of the wars. For this man, when he succeeded to the kingdom, appointed one Lysias to be chancellor and supreme governor of Coelesyria and Phoenicia, for Ptolemy that was called Macron, setting an example of observing justice toward the Yahudim because of the wrong that had been done to them, endeavored to conduct his dealings with them on peaceful terms. Whereupon, being accused by the king's friends before Eupator, and hearing himself called traitor at every turn because he had abandoned Cyprus, which Philometor had entrusted to him, and had withdrawn himself to Antiochus called Epiphanes, and failing to uphold the honor of his office, he took poison and made away with himself. He committed suicide. But Gorgias, when he had made governor of the district, maintained a force of mercenaries, and at every turn kept up war with the Yahudim, and together with him the Idumeans also being masters of important strongholds, harassed the Yahudim, and receiving to them those who had taken refuge there from Jerusalem, and essayed to keep up war. But Maccabees and his men, having made solemn supplication, and having implored Yahweh to fight on their side, rushing upon the strongholds of the Idumeans and assaulting them vigorously, they made themselves masters of the positions, and kept off all that fought upon the wall, and killed those who fell in their way, and killed no fewer than 20,000. And because no less than 9,000 were fled into the two towers, exceedingly strong and having all things needed for a siege, Maccabees, having left Simon and Joseph and Zacchaeus, besides, and those who were with them, a force sufficient to besiege them, departed himself to places where he was most needed. But Simon and those who were with him, yielding to covetousness, were bribed by certain of those that were in the towers, and receiving 70,000 drachmas, let some of them slip away. That's not good, man. But when the word was brought to Maccabees of what was done, he gathered the leaders of the people together and accused those men of having sold their kindred for money by setting their enemies free for flight against them. So he killed these men for having turned traitors, and took possession of the two towers, and prospering with his arms in all things, he took in hand and destroyed in the two strongholds more than 20,000. Now Timotheus, who had been before defeated by the Yahudim, having gathered together foreign forces in great multitudes, and having collected the horsemen which belonged to Asia, not a few, came as though he would take Judea by force of arms. But as he drew near, Maccabees and his men sprinkled earth upon their heads, and girded their loins with sackcloth in supplication to Yahweh, and falling down upon the step in front of the altar, implored him to become gracious to them, and be an enemy to their enemies, and an adversary to their adversaries, as the law declares. And rising from their prayer, they took up their arms and advanced some distance from the city, and when they had come near to their enemies, they halted. And when the dawn was now spreading, the two armies joined battle, and one part having this, besides their virtue, for a pledge of success and victory, that they had fled to the Most High for refuge, the others making their passion their leader in the strife. But when the battle waxed strong, there appeared out of the heaven to the adversaries 5 men on horses with bridles of gold in splendid array, and 2 of them leading on the Yahudim. And taking Maccabees in the midst of them, and covering him with their own armor, guarding him from wounds, while the adversaries they shot out arrows and thunderbolts, by reason whereof they were blinded and thrown into confusion, and were cut into pieces filled with bewilderment. And there were slain 20,500, besides 600 horsemen. But Timotheus himself fled into the stronghold called Gazara, a fortress of exceedingly strength, Chareas being in command there. But Maccabees and his men were glad, and laid siege to the fortress 24 days. And those who were within, trusting to the strength of the place, blasphemed exceedingly, and hurled out impious words. But at dawn of the 25th day, certain young men of the company of Maccabees, inflamed with passion, because of the blasphemies, They assaulted the wall with masculine force and with furious passion, and cut down whoever came in their way. And others, climbing up in like manner, while they besieged, were distracted with them that had made their way within, set fire to the towers, and kindling fires burned the blasphemers alive, while others broke open the gates, and having given entrance to the rest of the band, occupied the city. And they killed Timotheus, who was hidden in the cistern, and his brother Chareas, and Apollonius, Apollophanes. And when they had accomplished these things, they blessed the Most High with hymns and thanksgiving, him who does great benefits to Yasharel and gives them the victory. That's the end of chapter 10. All right, hallelujah, man. Yeah, let's get it. Hey, family, I got a question, man. What do you think about chapter 11? Do y'all dare to want to jump into chapter 11 with me? It's going to be another longer one, about another 2 pages. Not about another page. I mean, but these letters are real small, so it might be kind of long. Whatever, man. Let's get it. All right, let's go. Let's get some. Chapter 11, and it reads: Now after a very little time, Lysias, the king's guardian and kinsmith and chancellor, being sore displeased for the things that had come to pass, collected about 80,000 footmen and all his horsemen, and came against the Yahudim, thinking to make the city a place of Greeks to dwell in, and to levy tribute on the temple, a son of the other sacred places of the nations, and to put up the high priesthood to sale every year, holding in no account the might of the Most High, but puffed up with his tens of thousands of footmen, and his thousands of horsemen, and his 80 elephants, and coming into Judea, and drawing near to Bethsuran, which was a strong place, and distant from Jerusalem about 5 leagues, and pressed it hard. But when Maccabees and his men learned that he was besieging the strongholds, they and all the people with lamentations and terrors made supplication to the Most High to send a good angel to save Yasharel. And Maccabees himself took up arms first, and exhorted the others to put themselves in jeopardy together with him, and help their kindred. And they went out with him very willingly. And as they were there, close to Jerusalem, they appeared at their head, one on horseback in white apparel, brandishing weapons of gold. And they altogether praised the merciful Yahweh, and were yet more strengthened in heart, being ready to assail not men only, but the wildest beasts and walls of iron, and advanced in array, having him that is in heaven to fight on their side. For the Most High had mercy on them. And hurling themselves like lions upon the enemy, they killed of them 11,000 footmen and 1,600 horsemen, and forced all the rest to flee. But the more part of them escaped wounded and naked, and Lysias also himself escaped by shameful flight. 13. But as he was a man not void of understanding, weighing with him the defeat which had befallen him, and considering that the Hebrews could not be overcome, because the Almighty Yahweh fought on their side, he sent again to them, and persuaded them to come to terms, on condition that all the rights were acknowledged, and promised that he would also persuade the king to become their friend. And Maccabees gave consent upon all the conditions which Lysias proposed to him, being careful of the common good. For whatever request Maccabees delivered in writing to Lysias concerning the Yahudim, the kings allowed. For the letters written to the Yahudim from Lysias were to this effect: Lysias to the people of the Yahudim greeting. John and Absalom, who were sent from you, having delivered the petition written below, made request concerning the things signified therein. Whatever things, therefore, had need to be brought before the king, I declared to him, and what things were possible he allowed. If then you will preserve your goodwill toward the state, henceforward I will also endeavor to contribute to your good. And on this behalf I have given order in detail, both to these men and to those that are sent from me, to confer with you. Fare you well. Written in the 148th year, on the 4th and 20th day of the month Dioscorinthius. And the king's letter was in these words: King Antiochus to his brother Lysias greeting, saying that our father passed to the gods, having the wish that the subjects of his kingdom should be undisturbed, and give themselves to the care of their own affairs. We have heard that the Yahudim do not consent to our father's purpose to turn them to the customs of the Greeks, but choose rather their own manner of living, and make request that the customs of their law be allowed to them. Choosing therefore that this nation also should be free from disturbance, we determine that their temple be restored to them, and that they live according to their customs that were in the days of their ancestors. I'm saying, if you can't beat them, just leave them alone before they kill everybody, all right? Verse 26, and it reads, "You will therefore do well to send messengers to them and give them the right hand of friendship, that they, knowing our mind, may be of good heart, and gladly occupy themselves with the conduct of their own affairs. And to the nation of kings, letter was after this manner. King Antiochus to the senate of the Yahudim, and to the other Yahudim greeting. If you fare well, we have our desire. We ourselves also are in good health. Menelaus informed us that your desire was to return home and follow your own business. They therefore that depart home up to the 13th day of Xanthicus will have our friendship with full permission, that the Yahudim use their own proper meats and observe their own laws, even as formerly, and none of them will be in any way molested for the things that have been ignorantly done. Moreover, I have sent Menelaus also, that he may encourage you. Fare you well, written in the 148th year, on the 15th day of Xanthicus. And the Romans also sent to them a letter in these words: Quintus Memmius and Titus Manius, ambassadors of the Romans to the people of the Yahudim, greeting. In regard to the things which Lysias, the king's kinsman, granted you, we also give consent. But as for the things which he judged should be referred to the king, send one out with you, with after you have advised thereof, that we may publish such decrees as befit your case. For we are on our way to Antioch. For that reason, send some with speed, that we also may learn what is your mind. Farewell. Written in the 148th year of the 15th day of Xanthicus. That's the end of chapter 11. All right, we're gonna close it out there. We're gonna jump back into 12 on the next one. All right. Thanks for riding along, man. We stretched an extra one there. We got a little bit extra on that one, huh? Well, guess what? That's cool, man. In the meantime, in between time, shalom and shalom, man. Peace and blessings to each and every single one of y'all. I love you dearly, very much so. All praises to the Most High. See you soon.